Hello and welcome to the Spirit Spa, an online sanctuary dedicated to supporting you if you are in the early stages of recovering from depression or a nervous breakdown. My name is Karen Packwood. I'm a best-selling author and a spiritual guide. And in today's message from the wilderness, we're going to be focusing on the concept of the 3 gifts that fatigue can bring to you when you're in the beginning stages of a breakdown or depression. So let's begin first of all with the fear. When we're in the early stages of depression or breakdown, and we are really at that point where we are completely collapsed, we've broken, we feel shattered, we're very insular, we feel very dark, we feel very disconnected from the world, we are absolutely terrified. And one of the things that really contributes to our terror is the fact that we can't function physically properly, that we're extremely exhausted. And I know that some people like myself actually end up in a place where they're bedridden for quite a few months, pretty much comatose, before they're even in a place to begin to come into a place of physical wellness, let alone, mental or psychological wellness. So that terror is very real, and it's extremely overwhelming and it's extremely debilitating. But what I want to do is I want to talk to you a little bit about the gifts in the fatigue, because one of my beliefs about healing your way through depression and nervous breakdown naturally is that one of the tricks is to find the way to actually work with all of the emotions that are actually arising, and not just the emotions but actually the reality of how it's affecting your life. And of course fatigue affects your life dramatically in the early stages. So I'm a very big believer in finding ways of working in harmony, listening to the wisdom, finding the gifts in whatever it is that's actually coming up for you. And today obviously we're focusing on fatigue. So the very first gift that fatigue brings you is that it absolutely knocks you out. You actually can't do very much. And for many people, one of the reasons why they end up in the place of depression or nervous breakdown is because actually they were overdoing it in the first place. They were overgiving, they were maybe being high achievers, maybe they were being perfectionists, maybe you give yourself a really hard time about things. Often we end up in this kind of very exhausted place because actually we've spent years overdoing it. And so the fatigue kind of comes along and it knocks you down and it says, you know what, you actually can't do this anymore. Your own highest sense of wellness doesn't want this for you anymore, because you actually deserve to be living in a much kinder and happier place within yourself and for yourself, so that you can be bringing much greater joy into your own personal life, and obviously in the life for those of the people around you that you love. So first of all, it's about accepting the fatigue as a gift and allowing yourself to go into those states of deep rest. You are in a place of deep exhaustion on every level, emotionally, psychologically, physically, mentally, and spiritually. The best thing you can do for yourself is let yourself enter into the state of rest without trying to fight it. And I think that that's something that we all try and do, isn't it? We all try and fight it. We'll think, I'll force myself to do this, I'll force myself to do that. And so in reality, sometimes there are things that we do have to do. I know, for example, in one of my other videos, I talked about how I had a 2-year-old toddler. And although I couldn't do anything to look after her at the very beginning, somebody else had to do that for me. Once I was up and about again, but still very weak and exhausted, all of my energy went to looking after her, and then I collapsed when she was either in bed or at nursery. So sometimes we do have to kind of give energy to some things, but as much as possible allow us to go into the golden energy of the rest, of the deep sleep, because it's at that point when our spirit, and Mother Earth, Mother Nature, can come in and replenish us. And we go into a very deep stillness in that fatigue. I'm sure many of you understand that whole kind of almost like a comatose sleep. We go into such a deep stillness. And sometimes, first of all, we're not connected with that deep stillness. We're kind of, we just don't see it, we don't feel it, we don't touch it, we don't know it, we don't understand it. We're in a dark place, we're kind of almost dead to it. But then what happens if you just allow yourself to go into that place of deep stillness? Your body actually begins to, very naturally in its own way, regenerate itself. It will begin to come back to life in its own way without you having to force it. It's when you force it that you kind of knock yourself backwards. When you allow yourself to rest and let the energy come back up from within you, that's when you can begin to take very natural steps forward. And then what happens is that you can then begin to listen to your body, ask yourself questions. So these are some of the tips that I encourage my clients to do when we're working on this kind of thing. So one of the things is I encourage them to keep a journal. So when they try out an activity as they're coming out of this phase of fatigue and trying to actually do new things, to actually make a list, if you did something, did it exhaust you? Did it knock you back? Did it feed you? So you begin to get a list of the things that you can do that feel good for you and well for you, and the things that actually deplete you and diminish you. And of course, one of the most important things that we do as we're coming out of depression and nervous breakdown is we are looking to find ourselves a better and happier and more highly functioning life. We're not looking to go back to where we were. We're beginning a whole new brand, fresh, exciting, adventurous life where you're going to be in a much better place and much happier than you ever have been before. And it is totally possible to do that. But we have to begin by asking questions when we're in the dark places. What's depleting me? Is this something that needs to be released from my life? What feeds me? What nourishes me? I'm going to do more of that in my life. And we get the balance there with the positive and the negative. All the time making sure that we keep a place for rest going. It's a continuous process as you come out of this depression and fatigue. Depression and nervous breakdown is to, there's a continual kind of going back into a place of rest, and it's extremely important to do that, because you're planting the seeds of something very new, and eventually you will begin to sprout into something, and you'll become a whole new plant, if you want to use kind of a nature analogy. And you don't know what plant you're coming into. You don't know what kind of tree you're going to be, or what shrub, or what kind of flower, but you are coming into something that is going to sprout and is going to blossom, and that's what the positive gift within the fatigue. So I'm just going to look to my notes, because I just want to make sure that I've said everything that I would like to say to you on this. So just bear with me. I always have my notes with me, as most of you know. Oh, that was the other thing, yes. So the other thing is to, so one of the things when you're doing the journaling and when you're in a place of the fatigue is to actually ask yourself, what's my next step forwards? In order to bring myself out of this depression, out of this nervous breakdown, in a place where I feel well and fit and happy and functioning again, what's my next step forward? And it might be just very tiny. It might be just very tiny. I'm going to walk from upstairs to the downstairs. It might be very tiny to start with, but eventually it will become bigger. And I'd like to share a personal story with you about that, because as some of you will know from my other videos, I was in bed for 6 months. I was not able to walk very much to start with. It took me many months, if not a couple of years, before I was able to walk any distance. And that had been a really big shock to my system, because I had been a dancer, I'd been somebody who was always up in the mountains, I was a long distance walker, I was an extremely fit person. To find myself in a place where I was completely debilitated and not even able to just, walk for more than 5 minutes, well, to start with, not even that, but 5 minutes initially when I first started going outside again, I was absolutely terrified that I would never be fit again. And and just this last Saturday, I actually ran a 5k colour dash in aid of a local charity, without stopping, without any training as well. I was swimming regularly, but I hadn't done any running training. And I must admit that when I finished it, I did think to myself, yeah, I never thought I would be able to run and play and be joyful again and have fun. I didn't think that I was going to be able to do those things ever again. And well, you know, I'm proof that it is absolutely possible that you can do this. So please work with your fatigue, not against it. Don't fight it. Love it. Love yourself in the journey as well, of course. Listen to it. Allow yourself to rest. Please know that you are not alone. If you would like to leave any comments below, where you would like to share any of your own personal experiences or ask for any help or advice, please know that you can do that, and I'll answer the questions in future videos. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel so you get regular updates with the videos, that would be lovely. Of course, if you would like the video, I would be delighted by that as well. If you would like to email me, my email address is karenpackwood@gmail.com, and you can find information about my blogs and so on in the links below. So please reach out if you need to. Please know that you're not alone. Work with the fatigue and not against it. And the gifts in it, the love in it, it's there to help you and support you. And it's there to bring you back to a place of natural wellness. And that's what we're looking for, where you are living your most natural, authentic and joyful life ever. So I'm going to send you lots of love. Take care, and thank you very much for watching.